The 2003-2004 draft class consisted of many great players: LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and the player we're going to talk about today, Carmelo Anthony, who just recently retired. So we will go through every year of his NBA career, his stats from that year, and his career stats. But first, let's get to know Carmelo Anthony. His nickname is Melo. He played small forward and power forward. He was born May 29th, which is when the video will be coming out. He went to Syracuse and was the number 2 recruit in 2002. He got drafted by the Denver Nuggets, 3rd overall in the 2003 NBA draft, and had a 19-year career. Some awards: was a 10-time All-Star, a 1-time scoring champ, a 6-time All-NBA, an All-Rookie team member, and an NBA 75th anniversary team member. Some disclaimers before I get into his stats year by year. I'm using basketballreference.com. It's not sponsored. It is just used for this video. And if you want to see me do this for multiple players that already been retired or multiple more players from any other sport, let me know in the comment section down below. And maybe if you're the first comment, you might guarantee yourself a player. And it could be a Hall of Famer, it could be a non-Hall of Famer, it could be anyone. So if you're interested, choose a player down below in the comments and subscribe to the channel for that video. Now let's begin. This is his first NBA season as a rookie. He went 21 points per game. As you can see, he's consistently dropping double-digit points other than that 2-point game early in his career. You can see so many of his great performances. The most points he scored in a game was 41 this year on March 30th. And you can see he got 30 a plenty amount of times and averaged 21 points. So this was his rookie year. In year number 2, he averaged just short of what it was last year, which is 20.8 this year. 4 double-doubles in this year. You see all his stats. A ton of 20 bombs and a lot of 30s in his second year, 2004, 2005. The most he had was 36, which were 2 days in a row, the 18th and 19th of April of 2005. So both very good performances to end the regular season. In year number 3, he averaged 26.5 points per game and had 6 double-doubles. So we take a look at his points. You can only see that the game that he did not score more than 10 points is on the 28th of November, where he only scored 2. But other than that, you see consistent double-digit numbers. The most this season was 45 on December, almost January, where he also had 43 and January 10th. But you see 4 40-point games, a ton of 30-point games, and then the rest says it for itself. So this is definitely so far his best year of his career. The next year got better, however, as he averaged 29 points per game and had every game over 10 points. As you can see, he's just been getting better. He was suspended for multiple games and did not dress for one. But other than those games, you can see he's been playing really well. This is where his peak starts, and had a 40-point game on December 15th. And you can see the rest of his stats. Had a bunch of 30 games, which contributed to his high points per game. 2007-2008 have him averaging 26 points per game, so a little less than what it was previous year. The most he had was 49 points, had a 47-pointer as well. But you can take a look at his stats for the year. Had another great year, did not dress for a few games, but continued to play really well at a very high pace. As I mentioned, 49 was his season high, and had a 47 one in April. And then had a few 30-point games, and another great year for Melo. 2008-2009 wasn't a great year for him. Still averaged 23 points, but not really consistent as what it was the past few years. Had a game below 10 points and had many games missed. Regardless, it was still good enough to be considered to be a phenomenal player. 12 double-doubles, which was very good, very high. 45 points and a 43 points were his highs this year. And then other than that, some lower points games this year. Back up, however, the next year from 23 points per game to 28 points per game. And as you can see, he started with a 30, 41, and 42, which was off to a great start. He even had a 50-pointer in November. You see, he just got a lot better. You would think he would have a long career with Denver, as high as 50, as we saw. You would think he had a long career in Denver, but he would soon be traded in the 2010-2011 season. In his 6-7 years with the Denver Nuggets, he played 514 games and averaged 24.7 points per game, 3.1 assists, and had a little over 3 rebounds a game. Some great numbers, but then he would get traded in the middle of the 2010-2011 season to the New York Knicks. In his final half with Denver and his first half with the New York Knicks, he averaged 25.5 points per game, had 18 double-doubles. So continues to add to his peak of his career, had a 50-pointer in February, and you can see all his good performances, had many games where he did not play, like always, and then had a great ending with the 34-point later in the year. So he's got traded to the Knicks, and so far it ended up being a good trade. In his first full year with New York, he averaged 22 points per game. Started off with a 37-pointer in December, which was his first game, so he returned from an injury and then played well in that time. Definitely lower than usual. Still had 2 40-point games in April, but missed a ton of the start of the season with an injury, so this was his first year in New York. This was statistically his best year of his career and had 29 points per game. This was where he was considered in MVP talks, had a 50-pointer in April, and you can see all his phenomenal performances, had a 45-pointer, another one, 42. Just you could see how well he's played and definitely hit his peak of his career and hasn't really got that high ever since, but had a 50-pointer, as we mentioned, and just had a great season. In 2013-2014, he averaged 27 points per game. Another great year he had that capped off one of his best years. He had a 62-pointer, which ended up being his career high in the NBA. So this was very good performance for him. And you can see his Knicks team was not that good, however. So he was the only standout on the team, but had 22 double-doubles. So that definitely explains why he was the best player of his time. Things went a little downhill after these great seasons, averaged 22 points, which is still good, but has been lower standard than what we have seen in the past few years. Had a major streak of not playing and ended his season early, which affected his play time. Had a 46-point game in November, but that was only really his best performance by far. Had a 36-pointer, but that was really it. 2015-2016, he averaged 24 points per game, had a 37-pointer in his third game of the year, and had another one. So he was looking really good. There were some games that did not look great, which affected his stats, but still had a solid season, with the 237s being his most points of that season in a game. And you see all his numbers here. He's probably considered one of the more consistent players the NBA has seen in a while, at least at this time. 2016-2017 season was his last year in New York. He averaged 21 points per game, which was lower, probably one of his lowest of his career at this point, but you could still see he put up some great games. Still playing at an elite level. However, his team was 29-45 when he had 7 double-doubles, so he wanted out of New York, and that's what happened the next season. But before we get to his next team, his New York Knicks career stats, not counting the half year he was with New York in 2011 and 2010, he played 385 games and had a career of 24.6 points per game, 3.2 assists, and 3 or so rebounds a game in New York. The team that ended up getting Carmelo Anthony was the Oklahoma City Thunder, so he was teaming up with Russell Westbrook. However, while the team played great, Carmelo wasn't really great. He averaged only 16 points per game. So this is where his career started to fall a little bit. You see plenty more under 10 points per game. You still see him contribute a lot of points, though. So this is where he started not being consistent and didn't even have a 30-point game in Oklahoma City. Had 29 as his highest. 2018-2019 had him leaving the Oklahoma City Thunder after 1 year and joining the Houston Rockets and James Harden. You see all his points here. Did not play in many games this year. Only averaged 13 points in those games. He once again switched teams as he left Houston to play for Portland. This will be his home for 2 years. This year he averaged 15 points per game. And you can see he got a lot more time this year because of less injury and didn't play in August of 2020 because of the COVID year. But you can see just getting be a little bit better numbers than what we've seen the past few years. But still, it wasn't up to his standards when he played in Denver and New York. His final year in Portland, he averaged 13 points per game. I started off with a 15-pointer. Did not really have much high ones. There's a 29.1. But this year was getting close to the end of his career, and 29 was once again his highest points that he scored in a game this year. So nothing special after considering what we saw earlier in his career. His final year of the NBA career was not in 2022-2023, but the year before with the Los Angeles Lakers. He averaged 13 points per game. Now it's just considered an extra bench piece and a veteran on the bench. But his highest points a game was once again 29. You see all his points that he scored with the Lakers. Since leaving New York, he played in 284 games and averaged 15 points per game almost, with a 1.3 assists per game and 2 rebounds a game. His NBA career consisted of 1,260 games with 22.5 points per game, 2.7 assists per game, and 2.5 or so rebounds a game. Do you think this is a Hall of Fame career? I personally think so because he did so much to the NBA. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section down below, and also give me some other players you would like to see, whether it's basketball, football, or any other sport.